Hi, it's Kim Boon. One of our viewers reached out to me and asked me to look into the role of mayors in Singapore. You know what? That has always been a curiosity for me too. And it seems that every time they are mentioned, there always seems to be this disproportionate level of vitriol leveled at them. So I thought let's try to understand whether this is fair or not. So let's get right into it. So, quick thought experiment. Did you ever get upset over someone's promotion? Or had moments of rage when someone played favoritism? How did that make you feel? At the very core, you probably felt that the person did not deserve it. So what the person brought to the table did not match their rewards. So keep this in mind as we talk about mayors, the idea of reward versus value. Let's start with value. So who here likes CDC vouchers? I'm guessing that many of you are nodding your heads. I know some of you are not answering because you're thinking that this is a trick question. So not sure whether I'm the only one that didn't know this, but the CDC in CDC Voucher stands for the Community Development Council. And you know who are the chairmen of CDCs? Our 5 mayors right here. So our mayors are literally the face of money, and everyone, almost everyone loves money. And this is the only example I can think of where someone or something can be associated with money and be that unpopular with Singaporeans. But of course, this is an oversimplification, but that association with CDC vouchers is the root of a key criticism leveled at mayors in Singapore. And this was highlighted by Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Pritam Singh, back in Budget 2021.
On the CDC vouchers specifically, it is widely known that the representatives of market and shop association, merchants associations, are commonly represented on the citizens' consultative committees, for example, and there is one for each ward or constituency. It would follow that these local bodies like CCCs are even more closely connected to the ground than the 5 CDCs, rendering the CDCs' role in the voucher scheme potentially superfluous. So it would appear to me as if the government is trying to find some way to make the CDCs relevant in view of their relative absence in the public mindshare.
So fair question, but his comments suggest that the CDC serves no greater purpose today if their existence have to be supported by a voucher scheme. So to understand this, we have to go back to the origin story. Mr. Pritam went on to touch on the original mandate of the CDC that was put forth by then MCYS Minister Vivian Balakrishnan in 2010.
Evolution of the CDCs, I think best encapsulated when Minister Vivian Balakrishnan was Minister MCYS, I believe. 2010 or thereabouts, Minister says all government schemes go through the CDCs.
Now this makes a lot of sense. Today we have 87 active MPs. Say WP's Mr. James Lim has a brilliant idea to run an Eat More Vegetable program in Sengkang because vegetables are good for you. So he plans a weekend of song and dance to drum up awareness. He arranges a helicopter flyby carrying a big banner with red and white smoke that spells Eat More Vegetable, the whole works. Now across the aisle at Punggol West SMC, PAP's Miss Sun Xueling thinks that this is a brilliant idea. So she reaches out to Mr. Lim to get the details. And in an extraordinary show of bipartisan, Mr. Lim recycles the collaterals, provide details of the dancers, helicopter company, etc. Then SM Lee Hsien Loong hears about it and wants to do it too. And the whole thing repeats. Now, think about how this whole process could have been more efficient and cost optimized through shared resources. If only there was someone that could coordinate across MPs and external partners from charities, companies and other stakeholders. So that was the original vision for mayors. If you ask me if mayors can achieve this kind of efficiencies across all government schemes, I think that justifies the paycheck of $660,000 annually. Now I'm going to give you the flip side too. So let's hear Mayor Denise Phua talk about the mission of CDCs.
CDCs are geographic, district-based entities. It's another way to serve citizens who need help. The key mission is to assist, bond, and connect.
The problem, parts of these alphabets that used to be under the CDCs are now with other parts of the government. So Mr. Pritam Singh actually went through a bucket list of things that are no longer under CDC at the time.
A lot of roles have devolved. Comcare is primarily handled by the SSOs. Many other functions are now not in the hands of the CCCs anymore, and concomitantly, the budget of the CDCs has reduced significantly.
Now, let me put it this way. I could go into every single program and tell you what the CDC is doing, not doing, or doing but not doing well enough. But I'll link you the CDC website in the description and you can read it for yourself. But there's a much simpler way to think about this. Hypothetically speaking, if you used to do 100 programs and you got paid $1,000 for a job well done, now you're only doing 80 programs, should you still be paid $1,000? Although one could argue that less programs does not necessarily mean that the total value has reduced, and I absolutely agree with that.
Perhaps the biggest mistake the CDCs made, was not to have better publicized the work that we do. But the real work is in the work. How much publicity does one have to put out just to justify one's existence and to prove one's value add? The real work is in the work and the people we benefited. So I hope there are no attempts to politicize the good work of the CDCs and especially our partners.
The problem is that Singaporeans don't have an easy way to quantify value of each program, much less how everything aggregates over the years. I mean, I'm going to bet that even the mayors will struggle with that. Because if they could, they absolutely should shout about it. Because this is not exactly the national reserves, and there's really nothing proprietary about the information. So you will remember that I personally think that their pay is justified if they coordinated all government schemes per the original mandate. However, if they appear to have given up part of their ABC portfolio to others and are unable to articulate that their value creation is the same or higher, then I can understand why it is so hard for Singaporeans to swallow that. So if value cannot be quantified easily, how about the rewards? Let's discuss how the mayor's role is structured and compensated. To do that, we must first talk about MPs. There are pockets of Singaporeans that have reservations and in some cases downright upset that MPs are allowed to seek full-time employment while being on the job. So my personal view is that this comes down to the pay itself. You know how come people never compare salaries? Because in any salary showdown, there is always one person that comes out upset. And one MP makes more than the median household income of around $11,000. So keeping in mind that this is one person versus one household of two or more people. Now imagine you are told that this MP can earn even more wages by taking on another full-time job that maybe doubles that. So you can see why Singaporeans would be angry, maybe even a bit jealous. Now, let's come back to mayors. They get the brunt of this anger because they get another $55,000 from their mayor's role, and 4 out of 5 mayors are part-time, with the exception of Miss Denise Poor. So by my calculations, their salary can be higher than ministers. But I think we have to discuss why mayors and MPs are allowed to take on additional jobs. I think PM Wong discussed this in a forum last July.
It's really a pragmatic arrangement. I mean, if you think about it, office holders, ministers also have a full-time job. My full-time job is not to be a full-time MP. My full-time job is to be the Prime Minister.
So I'm going to say the unsaid part out loud. The reality is good people are reluctant to step forward. And more barriers to entry makes recruitment even harder. So in an ideal world, we want people in the government for the right reasons, to serve the people. But realistically, enforcing full-time on MP or mayors will turn away a portion of that talent pool, especially a talent pool that was characterized by PM Wong in a recent interview.
Singaporeans who have done well in their professional life are generally very comfortable where they are. To be expected, right? You've done well, earning a good income, very comfortable. They are very reluctant to change their lifestyles.
Also, from an individual perspective, an MP role is essentially a 5-year contract role with no guarantee of renewal. So in this modern era where there is a real and present risk of turnover after each election, that job security aspect is another factor that could put off potential MP candidates. So on that calculus between value versus reward, the rewards, whether actual or perceived, are too high relative to the value that can be touched, felt and seen. And one way to resolve this conflict is to remove the role of mayors. Or the alternative, the government has to find a way to articulate the value piece. Simply acknowledging that the CDC and mayors are doing well in the background quietly will do little to quell the naysayers. And this has to be better marketing to articulate that value creation of mayors in dollars and cents or some softer measure. Otherwise, the voice of discontent will persist and become part of every election. And that to me is a disservice to our mayors who are perpetually caught in a rock and a hard place. Well, that's the end of my thoughts. I know many of you have some strong opinions on this, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section. And until next time, this is the Red Dot Perspective.